We will look at the various tools available for data handling in Salesforce and use one of the inbuilt tools, Data Import Wizard, to import some data into a custom object that we have created. So the data management tools that are available in Salesforce, one is Data Import Wizard, which is an inbuilt tool. Dataloader is a client application which is available for download. And I would also advise you to look at one more tool called Dataloader Io, which is a MuleSoft provided web application. But if we look at a Data Import Wizard and Dataloader, the main difference is Data Import Wizard is useful for importing less than 50,000 records. Whereas if you have between 50,000 to 5 million records, you would use the Dataloader client application. For the Data Import Wizard, there are a very limited number of objects that are supported by Wizard. There are certain standard objects, and of course, all the custom objects will be included in the Data Import Wizard. Dataloader is useful for importing data into objects that are not supported by Wizard. So for example, you can look at contact roles as one of the objects, which is not available in Data Import Wizard, but Dataloader can be used to import data into contact roles kind of objects. Data Import Wizard is not automated and cannot be used for scheduling jobs, whereas in Dataloader, you can actually schedule regular data loads. Data Import Wizard is for import only. As the name implies, it's Data Import Wizard. And with the Dataloader, you can import, export, as well as delete records in Salesforce. Similar kind of features like Dataloader are also available in Dataloader.io, which is a web application provided by MuleSoft. And as per its pricing structure, up to 10,000 records per month are in the free tier. You can have a look at the details by going to Dataloader.io application website. Let us look at these tools in Salesforce. In the previous video, we created a few records in Salesforce itself. We created a few keychain model records. So let's look at those keychain models. So we have 3 keychain models here. Let's look at all keychain models. We have the car keychain, fancy keychain, house keychain, and you got the material of the keychain, the weight, and the weight UOM. Now, if you look at the weight field, it's a pick list, and it has got a choice of GM and OZ. Also, weight is a mandatory field, so it cannot be left blank. That indicates it's required. Material, it's a free text field, and the keychain model name also is a text field. So let's try to import a few records into this object. Now you could straight away go to import, and that would open up the Data Import Wizard. But what I'm going to do is I'll show you a few more tools in setup. So go to setup. Under setup, type data. Under integrations, we look at Data Import Wizard, Dataloader, and Dataloader Io. So let's look at what is Dataloader. Dataloader is a client app for bulk import and export of data. So Dataloader is for both import as well as export, and it requires a few other installations to be done for us to use Dataloader as a client application. And the data has to be provided in CSV. Same for Data Import Wizard. The data needs to be in CSV. And Dataloader can create, edit, or delete Salesforce records for any standard or custom object. Dataloader exports Salesforce records into CSV files. You can then edit those CSV files or use them as templates for importing data into Salesforce. Let's look at Dataloader.io. So Dataloader.io is powered by MuleSoft, which is our Salesforce company. To launch Dataloader.io, you can click here and it will take you to the Dataloader.io website, and you'll find more details on that web app. We'll not go so much into detail with Dataloader.io. In this video, we'll be focusing on Data Import Wizard, and we'll use that to import a few records into keychain models. Let us launch the wizard. So it shows you the standard objects. Under custom objects, the custom objects that we have created are shown here. We want to import into keychain models, so we'll select that. What do you want to do? Add new records, update existing records, or add new and update existing records. What we are trying to do is add new records. Since we are adding new records and we don't have a matching record, we'll leave this as it is. We will not have a record owner in the file, which means the person who is doing the data import will become the owner of those records. Let's drag the CSV file. So let's first take a look at the CSV file and the preparation that goes into creating that CSV file. So here's the CSV file I have created to run this data import. There are a few errors that have been purposely left in this CSV file to see how the Data Import Wizard treats those records. Let us first look at how to create this CSV file. To create the CSV file, we need to know what are the fields that need to be loaded into this object, those fields would become the column names or headings in the CSV file. Remember, it has to be a CSV file, even though we have opened it in the Excel application. So if we look at the fields, we have keychain model name of data type text. You have material, which is also a text field and accommodates up to 20 characters. You have the weight, which is a 3-digit number, and you have got the weight unit of measure or UOM, which is a pick list. And as we saw before, it has two valid values, GM and OZ. Weight is a mandatory field. So we have captured those field names as the column headers. We have created a few records where the model name is duck keychain, material is steel, weight is 10, weight UOM is gram. That is invalid data and should result in an error for us. Similarly, weight is a mandatory field and leaving it blank is going to generate an error for us. We have kept the model name blank in this case. The material contains fancy gold keychain. Ideally, before loading this file, we should have corrected this data and made the model name as fancy keychain and material as gold, but we'll see how Salesforce treats this record. So let's see what happens when we leave the model name blank. Let's go back to the data import wizard now and drag the CSV file to be loaded there. We brought in the CSV file, click next. Now what the data import wizard has done is it loaded the file and tried to map the column headers in the CSV file to the fields that were available in Salesforce. Wherever the field name matched with the column header, it has already pre-mapped the field for you. Now model name is left as unmapped, so we'll click on map and we'll select keychain model name because that's where we intend for the data to be mapped. And we are ready to upload the next. So it gives us certain data. So it shows us that 4 fields have been mapped. We don't have any unmapped fields. We could have extra fields in the CSV that we want to leave unmapped. In this case, we want to map all the 4 fields in our CSV. So start the import, click OK to view your import status on the bulk data load job page. Click OK and it should show us the status straight away. So what it shows us is you can view the request, you can view the result, you can see the time it took to process this data. 7 records were processed and 2 records out of that failed. So if we look at the results, we'll be able to see the record failures as well. Let's click on view result. So it shows us which record succeeded and which record failed. The ones that failed, we knew this is going to fail for a bad value for a restricted pick list value. We tried to insert GRAMME when the weight UOM field allows only GM or OZ as values. The other error that we faced was a required field was missing. Weight was left empty in this record and hence this one failed. The record where we had left the model name blank has actually succeeded. So we'll take a look at the records in Salesforce and see how it handles a blank name field. Let's go back to Salesforce and refresh. There you go. So the data that we have just imported has also been can also be seen in the all keychain models list. What Salesforce has done is it has generated a Salesforce ID and put that ID as the keychain model name where we had given it a blank model name. The rest of the records have been imported correctly. We have the material, weight, and the UOM correctly imported. For this record, we actually want to call it, we already have a fancy keychain model name, so we'll call this a fancy keychain gold as the model name. We can also change the material field. And so what we are doing right now is inline editing in a Salesforce list. Let's make the material as gold. And at the bottom of the page, you can see the save button. There you go. So that looks like a better list. And that's how you import data into a simple custom object. This object had no lookups to other objects. We do not have a lookup field in this object. All of the data in the CSV file got uploaded in a single object.